Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Books You Can Sink Your Teeth Into podcast. I am your host, Granted A. Miller, and welcome. Happy to have you here. And so you'll notice that there's no background, and I've got a big story to tell you after this. First, I'm going to make a couple comments about the big news today. It's Sunday, and it was a huge news, and I wanted to talk to you about this because it's interesting how it got to me. So I was just kind of cruising, just going through things on Twitter, or now known as X, and I saw a post that said, the party of the elitist billionaires, all the media controlled party had a huge issue today. I'm like, something happened with the Republicans. But no, it was, Joe Biden announced his resignation from rerunning, for being reelected. And it was just kind of funny, number one, because in my time, it was always the Republicans who were the rich men, the rich white guys, the billionaires, who controlled all the media, right? Who controlled all the economy, everything, all the stuff. They owned it, right? I think look up the George Carlin joke about, they own all the best spots. They own all the capital. They own all the minerals. They own all this, and they have their own private club, and you're not part of it. Anyway, so that's how it started off. And first of all, what the, it's like, so now the narrative is the Democrats are the elitist billionaires. Go figure. But yeah, he resigned. So, I'm not one to jump into political theater, and I'm not going to. I feel that from just from a personal level, I think the president made the right call. I mean, you could tell from when he was in the debate that his age, he needs to retire. Honestly, he's getting to the point now where you could see that, maybe onsets of dementia. I don't know what's happening, and we all know he'll get the best care available for whatever it is that he's suffering from. But it's good that he did this, in my opinion. Not that again, it's not political theater. I'm not going to say, I'm supporting this person or that person, but I think that it was a good decision for himself. Now, what do I think the Democrats need to do? Democrats need to make a decision right away on who's going to run. And then the second thing, then the other side is that the Republicans need to create as much chaos within the Democratic Party as they can, so that Democrats can't decide on a person, and it gets into bickering. So that's the two sides. But enough of that. Let's talk about what I'm doing. So on Friday, I was part of those people in the airport trying to get back to my home. I was up in New York working for the company that I work for, and Friday I got up, it was around 3:30, 4, got to LaGuardia. I was on the first flight out, and I knew something was up because I could see, so my company is, we have offices all around the world, so like IT is on 24/7, and so I saw a ton of posts out of Hong Kong about this Crowdstrike issue. And when I got to the airport and I noticed the blue screens, I'm thinking, this isn't going to be good. And sure enough, it wasn't. They were, the airport was closed down from like 5:30 to 7:30 or something, or 8 o'clock, something like that. All the flights were delayed, right? And yeah, it was just it was a mess. And unfortunately, I did get back. So I'm very, very fortunate. I'm glad that I got home. I'm very tired, as you can probably tell. But, but I have a business colleague, friend. It took him 3 days to get home. And he ended up having to drive about 8 hours. It was just, and he had like 3 canceled flights. It was ridiculous. And, a lot of people suffered with this. And so what happened? So, being that I'm in the IT industry, I feel that I give you all some insight. So, the company is called Crowdstrike, and if you remember, like Norton antivirus, McAfee antivirus, let's think about those days, those companies, and what CrowdStrike is it's a new level up from those antivirus. It not only does antivirus, it looks at threat prevention and constant monitoring, and it looks for things that, especially like these ransomware attacks, it watches the servers and watches for things starting to get encrypted right on the server level. It stops that. This company is called CrowdStrike. There's also another competitor called Sentinel, but a lot of companies, especially with these ransomware attacks, started to adapt, the CrowdStrike and other similar companies' software. What it does is it actually installs monitoring services on the servers, and Windows, being one of the major server players in the workspace, for good or bad, wasn't the target, but it was the operating system that failed. So what happened was Friday night, probably around 1-2 a.m., CrowdStrike pushed out an update, and this update wasn't significantly tested or thoroughly tested. And what happened was that specific Windows machines, when you throw out an update, you have to, like when you're a company pushing an update to systems, there's so many things that you have to account for. First of all, what is the operating system? Is it, for example, just stick with Windows, not to pick on Windows, but just because it's easiest, I think people remember, for people to understand. So is it Windows Server, 2018, 2012, 2024, etc.? Making stuff up, okay? But as far as those names now. But not only that, you got to know like the server level, but then you have to know like what was the latest service pack, and then what was the latest security updates, and what was the latest browser updates, et cetera, and it gets really intricate. And so you have to account for all these things when these companies push out these updates. Well, I don't think, in my opinion, we'll find out when the results come out, but I don't think CrowdStrike did a very good job in their diligence because testing their update, because they pushed it out, and it affected the Windows servers so that they couldn't boot, and they got locked. And the only way to fix it was to take it off, take that update out. Now, where I work, we've got some really, really gifted, intelligent IT people, and they were able to isolate it and they were able to remove it manually. But then companies like, Delta, American, United, just the airlines, and various hospitals. And I say those airlines because, like I said, I was actually part of the mess. Not involved. I was a customer in that mess. I don't really know. I'm sure they got very good IT staff, but did they? There's so many other things like a server. Servers running a ton of processes. Now it might be running the database or running a particular platform, like for example Delta's web app, for example. It might be running that. I don't know, I'm just guessing. But whatever it was, not only did the server need to be fixed, but then all of the related apps have to be restarted. And you're talking about live systems where people are constantly on their apps updating and changing, etc. That becomes a very difficult process. And so it took a while for them, because like look at, you might say, okay, well, why couldn't they just reboot the servers? Well, you could, but then you got to get everything back in sync, right? Now, I think Delta rebooted is my guess. I think that their IT rebooted because there was a period when nothing worked. The app didn't work, nothing worked. And then I was watching the counter, and then I could see their systems kind of flickering, and then all of a sudden, like one of the supervisors had to come over and had to log in, and they had to do something, and then the thing, their machines at the counter came up. So I feel that there was probably a restart, a reboot at some point. It was around 7:30 in the morning, my best guess. Again, you're sitting there for 2 hours, nothing to do. You kind of watch things, right? That's what I was doing. And so, yeah. And then, like I said, I was fortunate. I eventually got home thank goodness. And here I am. So apologize for the lack of background things. But now, book review. So last week was our 20th anniversary. Yay. 20th, not anniversary, sorry. 20th podcast. Gosh, I'm tired. Okay. All right, 20th podcast. So this show's our 21st. And for that, I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? And because I thought about it after the podcast, I read the book this week. It's a fun read. Now, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was written by Jules Verne, 1867 thereabouts, 1868, 70, I don't know, somewhere around there. And it was about a submarine. Now, most of us remember the Disney movie that was made in 1954, 55. It was very, very famous. Kirk Douglas, James Madsen. Very famous with Technicolor. Disney, one of the best Disney pictures, I think, of... It holds its own. I mean, even today you can watch it and really enjoy it. But I think most of us remember the movie. The book was more along the lines of... It had a lot of place. So first of all, it was written in French. So the title was in French, and and there were a lot of French specific things that it was portraying that are not kind of relevant at all to us here in this day and age. But back then it was. And, the submarine wasn't like it was depicted in the movie. It was more of like a cigar shape, which is basically what those submarines, because like if you remember, some of the first earliest submarines were used in the Civil War. And so in the North and the South. And so it was pretty much based on that prototype. But and then like very fascinating things like Captain Nemo, right? Nemo is Latin for no one, Captain No One. And he kind of went through identity changes. I think in the book he was like a European. He was like his family was a family of some nation. He was in the aristocracy of some sort, and then he was his family was killed and by a neighboring country that was just warmongering and that pushed him into the sea, and he was on this thing for revenge. And then later on in another book, Mysterious Island, Captain Nemo returns, but this time he's different, and I won't spoil it for you. But anyway, back to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. In the movie, remember Kirk Douglas up there, he's throwing that harpoon, and it was so cool. And James Madsen, I think there was like that movie won like 2 Academy Awards. He did great. He was a wonderful Captain Nemo, and at the end he just was like crashed his ship and sank to the bottom. Whereas in the book, Captain Nemo fell into depression, and they were lost in a whirlpool, maelstrom. I think up near Norway, up in the North Sea somewhere. But anyway, that's the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Fun read. Hope you do. All right, now we're gonna go from me to Count Vlad. I'm gonna skip the other two this week, and we're gonna go right into Count Vlad's segment. Count Vlad did travel with me, so he's going to be in this background. He's with me in our temporary makeshift studio here. Travels with me. So what he does is he turns into a vampire. He is a vampire. I'm sorry. He turns into a bat, and then he jumps in my bag when we're out in sunlight, and then he rematerializes. Now, because it was 3:30 in the morning when we were traveling, he was fine. He didn't have to. It was middle of the day for him. We traveled up to New York together. He attended the company meeting with me. He almost spoke out in the meeting. I was telling him, no, sit down, don't say anything, just stay here. He almost did. For those of you who work with me, you'll get that reference. And so he'll be up next to talk about book review that he's going to do, which I'm very excited to endorse and to hear. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back next week. Bye. Hello, everyone. It is I, Count of Vlad, and I am here at my. Oh, I'm not at my castle. Ha ha ha. Okay, no, I am here with Granite Miller, the human. Yes, and I have to call him that. He insists that I call him Granite A. Miller. And I'm like, well, why don't you call me Vladimir, blah, blah, blah. But I don't do that. I just say, hey, call me Count of Vlad. I'm okay with the Count of Vlad. But no, he has to say, I'm the Grand Miller. Oh, he's so big and thinks he's so important and, makes me crawl into the bag at the airport because he's embarrassed by me. And then we go to company meeting and I'm just wanting to ask a simple question. And I just want to get up and say, hello, everybody. I am Count Vlad the Vampire. But no, he won't do it. He keeps pushing me down. Yeah, it's very upsetting to the Count. Very upsetting, yes. So, anyway, I had a very, very good time in New York. The blood up in New York is very good. I like it a lot, yes. Good blood in New York. And so we had the problem coming back, The Count usually flies as a bat, and I fly next to the airplane. You know how the geese fly in the V shape? Well, that's what the Count does. I fly on the wing, and I get the draft, and it helps me fly so easy. And so, Gracie was talking here, my little pug. And so, my weird pug down here, Gracie. And anyway, with a lot of time to read. Well, we were waiting for the airplanes and the cancellations because of the Crowdstrike, and I was with all the humans, and yeah, I finished this book, Dead Adrenaline 2, Time Break Exposition. Yes, Time Break Exposition. This book, fantastic. Oh my gosh. Number one, it has a super sexy heroine. Yes, the Hive Queen. Oh, she's so sexy. The Count loves her. But number two, the ending blew the Count away. I am dead serious. It blew me away. I did not expect it. Oh my goodness, people. You have to get this book. This ending is just something else. The Count was like, oh, I did not see that coming. I really want to ruin the ending for you and to tell you, but I won't. But just let me say that as a vampire, it just gave me the chills up and down my spines. I loved it. And it's really surprising as you're reading the book. No, there's no clue at all. No, you got no hint, no nothing. And then all of a sudden that ending comes and it is such a surprise. And anyway, I think you will like it. In all seriousness, you are going to like it. So, Time Break Expedition, The Return, Dead Adrenaline 2. And read it for the heroine, the Hive Queen. Root her on, right? The Hive Queen, so sexy. And then the end, the surprising villain who comes. Oh my gosh, so good. In other news, okay, the Count got a phone call this week from Count Fangora. And the Count Fangora decided to leave. He was in the castle. As you know, the Count was had a relationship with Lilith. Not Lilith. No, not with Lilith. Lilith is with the Count. No, with Lilith's protege, apprentice. Her name is Lena. And he was having a relationship, but Lena broke it up with him. Yes, that's what happened. Count Fangora won't admit it, but Lena broke up with him. And he was so depressed. And I was gone. I was in New York when all this went down. Count Fangora left the castle. He flew off and he left me a voicemail. He was so sad. He was crying. And vampires don't cry, but he was crying, yes. And, for me, don't tell anybody. But for me, I'm just like, oh, man, you're so weak. Get over it. So anyway, maybe next week we will get a call from Count Fangora. And so we're not going to see his crazy bat persona in the castle anymore. But who knows? Maybe he'll come back. Maybe him and Lena can patch it up. So, all right. That's it for me. Whoa. That was a loud bark from the weird pug. I wonder what the weird pug wants. Why don't we go and take a look? No, I'm going to leave her there. She can get a bit cranky. So, all right. I hope everyone has a great week. This is Count Vlad signing off. Adieu.